As Jack said, today we're going to install this cold air intake system. It's an S&B filter system. We got all the components out on the table to see what we have. The thing I noticed about this system is the instructions are not paper to where you could read. You actually have to scan code or go on their site to get the instructions. So we're going to do that shortly. But this stuff is basically kind of cut and dry. It's not very complex. You can actually just figure it out on your own if you just take your time. There's not a lot of components to it, but the increased mileage and horsepower is well worth installing one of these cold air intake systems. So let's get started. This is a 2021 Jeep JL. This is the cold air intake, the factory that we're going to replace. Ready to remove the components that we need to. So let's get started. We'll just go ahead and pull these clamps off or loosen them up first. Just back them off a little bit so you know you got some movement in there. And on these clips right here, these are a depression clip, and we're just going to push this in like this and just gently slide that off and kind of move it out of the way like that. Some of these clips are pretty fragile, so you do have to take caution. And here we got an air sensor. We'll disconnect that. Looks like we got to pull two clips here. Got this handy little snap-on tool. We're gonna clip tool. We'll just kind of move them back and forth, and hopefully they just pop right out.
What happens if they do break? You just buy new ones?
They make replacement ones. You could put right back in there, or on something like this, it's just a small wire. You could even just use a basic zip tie. But they make them really difficult sometimes not to break. This plastic's very vulnerable. There's one. These are pretty long, so we're just gonna. There's two. Okay, they look like they're in halfway decent shape to be replaced. Let's pull this system off. And so we'll see what else is connected here as we go along. We have one more clip right there, so let's relax that and move that clip out of our way. There we go. Looks like we salvaged that one. And there's that component. We will need the air sensor out of here. It's positioned right here in the front that we disconnect the wire from. So we're going to remove that real quick here. These you have to be very cautious with because of course it's just plastic. It's got a clock mechanism, and so what we have to do is, I believe, lift up this tab and then turn this. You want to turn it at the base. Up here is basically hollow, so you got to be really careful. There we got it going, and so I'm just going to reposition these straight down and give it a counterclockwise turn and a little bit of wiggle, and I think she'll come out of there. There she goes. You have to be really careful. You don't want to get any oil or debris on this, even though there's dirt in the air, but we'll just let nature take its course if it goes defective over that. But keep this really clean and in a safe place until you're ready to reinstall it. We'll just set it right here. Next, we're going to remove this airbox assembly, the factory airbox assembly. Yep, we'll get that one. And one more there. There's 4 screws in the top of this. One went down here, we'll get it. We'll just remove the top. Get the air filter out.
Well, that got pretty dirty just what little time I've had it done.
Set this out of the way. Remove your air filter, which actually looks really clean. Set these computers out of the way. Now that'll get you into where you can get the rest of the air box out. Looks like we have one more fastener there. And right here.
I can stop this.
So I have the fasteners removed. Let's see what else we need to get out of the way here. I have a couple wire ties here from the cable that when we installed the worn winch on the front bumper with this custom front bumper guard. Let me remove that. Now let's see what happens. Should be able to just pop this out. It's set into some rubber grommets down below. You might have to use a little force like that, but finesse at the same times. You see it just pops right in there. Has these receiver holes down below the factory unit installs with. So we're gonna get that out of the way.
Is this right here the actual air scoop that goes to that whole cleaner?
That is part of the system right there. And there's another intake system. I believe that's it brings the air up in through the bottom and up around here and up through the top there.
So it's not like a direct flow system then?
It is not a direct flow system.
Wow.
That's one of the reasons why we're going to replace this with a highly tuned unit. Factory stuff is good, but it's not great. So we got our area open. We're going to make sure everything's basically out of the way. And we're just going to fit this. I think we have to put our own rubber grommets in there from the factory box. We're going to fit this down in there. And I believe that's it right there. With our grommets, we should be fine.
All right.
Okay, now we are going to install the new air box. We have to use the factory rubber grommets that plunges down into the recessed holes here. So we're going to remove them off the factory box, which they'll finagle off there. They kind of just slide over here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to install them in the body works first. And that's right over here. We're just going to insert those into this hole, these holes here, just like that. And also there's a little support bracket that we're going to install, and it goes like this, Right here is a vulcanized threaded fastener in the housing. And we're not going to tighten this tight right now. We're just going to leave it a little bit loose. And when that goes down in here, it's going to fasten to one of these factory supports. So let's see which one. Looks like that outside one. So we're going to remove that now. Get that out of the way. Everything looks like it's out of the way and clear, so we're gonna plummet this down into the well there. Bracket looks like it's gonna line up pretty nice. They'll give you so now we'll just put this fastener in here. Comes with the new stainless fasteners. It's good. You can just kind of shove in and get it started. We're going to leave that loose for right now, I believe. We'll be fine because we can still get at it. I'm just going to give that a little bit more. Just kind of take some of the play out, and I'll tighten that up. And we'll get everything else connected. It comes with this intake boot that goes on the outside here. Excuse me, I got that backwards, but it goes on here, and it's got a cutout for the factory intake tube that's down below, right underneath this unit. So you're going to leave that in, of course, and you're going to filter this in there. Okay, we got that. There's another grommet that goes on the outside. Let's install that. Fits very nice. Ready? Okay, now we're going to install the air intake tube, but first we have a couple components. Very simple procedure to install these pieces. You have your pollution control fitting. We're going to thread in here, and your air sensor grommet that's going to go over here. So actually, while we're here, we're just going to push this in like so. There's a little cutout where that lines up perfectly, and we're just going to push that in just like that. This piece right here is plastic. We probably don't need no sealer on that, but I like to seal all my tapered fittings, so I am going to get some tape and put some tape on it. Get it started. Yeah. Okay, so we got our 19mm wrench. We're just going to give this a few turns. You got to remember it's plastic, so it's not like steel that you need to torque down real tight. Besides that, it's going into a vulcanized steel sleeve that's implanted in the tube, so you've got to use a little finesse and common sense not to over torque it. And so we're just going to do something like that. I think we're fine. Okay, so I believe we're ready to install this. I am going to apply a little bit of grease on this intake end here to where it goes into the airbox grommet. It's pretty big and dry, so this won't hurt the thing. And now we're going to place it up in the vehicle. Lift the air box up a little bit. We left it loose just for stuff like this, and let's push that in there. There we go, something like that. Looks like we're in good shape with that. So everything's gonna line up there. Now we're ready to put our junction tube in there. Comes with a nice new rubber sleeve and clamps. So we're gonna install our clamps on here like this and install our sleeve. And little finesse should go right on there. Look at that. There we go. Looks like we got that lined up fairly well. Make sure our clamps are nice and square. Looks good. Let me tighten those up. Should I say let me tighten them up? That should be suffice. We can clip in our tube here. Should just go right on there. Pop. You hear that click? You know it's seated. Now we're going to install our air sensor. Get it taken care of. Goes in there one way. Just like the original factory piece, we're just going to push it in and give it a turn. And there you go. Right there. And it's got to line up on the tab because the air has got to go through the sensor a certain position, a certain way. Okay, look at there. We're going to go ahead and find our line and see what we're going to need to make this happen and keep the wires out of the way. So we heard the click. That's good. So we're going to have to do a little wire tying here. We'll just go ahead and remove these since they'll never be used again. Okay, so now we're ready to tighten up our bracket that they gave us in the kit. We can get right in here and tighten that up. Remember, this is plastic, so you don't want to over torque it. Just get it good and snug and you'll be fine. Looks like everything's secure. All we have to do is wire tie our sensor wire and we'll be good to go with that. Okay, now we're going to do our final step and tie off our air sensor wires that we had to cut the factory clips from, and our coolant tube we're also going to fasten down right here because we had to remove that tie that plugged on to the factory air intake tube. So let's do that. Just take a couple little small wire ties. We'll go right to this tube here. I'll just put one here. That's fine there. And then I'm going to put this larger one down here and get this snugged up so we don't have a lot of vibration. So that looks pretty good. I think we're going to be able to go with that. We'll be fine. And I'll just finish those off with some flush cut tie dikes. And we're good to go. Cut them flush, that way they don't grab you later on down the road. Now we're ready to install our air filter assembly. I'm gonna wipe this little bit of grease I put on there, which is a very small amount. Got that nice and clean. And we're ready to install our cone filter.
That's just sticking it in there.
All right, now we're ready to stick this in there. Looks like we have to go this direction. Kind of give it a little squeeze and it'll pop right down in there. We'll lift it up. Well, we're gonna find our clamp head. And there it is. We're gonna keep that close to the top here and boom, there we are. We're on that. So our clamp is there. Let's get the tool, tighten that up. We should be able to get it in this direction here. I think that suffice. Looks good and tight. All right, since we have that, I'm actually going to double check that. Even though that's my impact driver, I like to check those. Just with a hand screwdriver or a nut driver. Yeah, we're a little one on that one, and that one's very good. Almost perfectly torqued. So now we're going to install our seal and our cover. Comes with this little seal that sets in this impression here. You just gently push that down here. And there it is. It's a little short, it looks like. Get that back in there. Let's see if we can make that happen. Give it a little stretch maybe. See what that does. And wants to go. There we go. Right down in there. There we go. Looks like it's going to be a good seal. They made it up. Let's install our cover. They give you this really nice cover here, just so you can see what's going on. Find the right way it goes. Looks like that might be it. We'll get our fasteners and fasten that down. Get one started.
It actually has a curvature to it.
Yeah. These don't have to be super tight. Just snug them down a little bit and you'll be good to go. Okay, so I think we got all the bases covered. We have the air intake system completed. We'll double check all of our fittings and our lines. Everything's plugged in. Looks good. We've got a nice seal. The kit was very simple to install. It's self-explanatory. Like I said, the instructions are downloaded and you scan them to get them, but anybody with any sense of common sense would be able to figure this out. So there you have it, 2021 Jeep JL cold air intake system is complete. Now we are completed with our full installation. So now it's time to start the vehicle, make sure all the lights and everything good. There's no check engine light, which there shouldn't be, but let's see how it does. Looks like everything's clear. We noticed RPMs have picked up a tad bit from the initial startup, and it's definitely got a different sound. So the client's going to take it out for a spin, and he's actually going to do a follow-up test and see what the miles per gallon is and the RPM, and see how the power is with this installation. And we'll take it from there. We'll listen or wait for his feedback. That completes our installation of the S&B cold air intake system, improving our mileage from 17.7 mile per gallon to 19.2 mile per gallon in town, and a whopping 18.0 to 22.1 on the highway. It also gives a quicker throttle response, and you can actually hear and feel the difference. I give this a 10 out of 10 rating on installation and performance. This is Tom from HRS Auto in Kingman, Arizona. We thank you for watching the video.